Welcome back to the podcast Rock Dudes and a new season 5, and we start with the episode 29, and the guest this time will be the Australian hard rock band Airbourne. But we start to talk about our sponsor for this episode, which is the 70,000 tons of metal cruise. And the cruise will go from Fort Lauderdale in USA to Haiti and back. And the date are the 2nd to the 6th of February in next year, 2017. And it will be a boat filled up with metalheads and a lot of heavy metal bands like Annihilator, Anthrax, Arch Enemy, Testament, Gojira, Devil Driver, Amaranth, Pain, and a lot of more bands, of course. It will be 60 metal acts during the 4 days. It will be good weather, good metal music, and of course a lot of party going on. Welcome to Rock Dudes 29 and the first episode of season 5. And the first guest this season will be the Australian hard rock band Airbourne. It was a fun interview talking about everything, how it was to grow up in a little city outside Melbourne, and the only thing that you can do there was to play hard rock. We will talk about the new album Breakin Outta Hell. Of course, a lot of anecdotes and all these kinds of quirky stuff that they are doing on the road. In the end of the show, we will present a music top list. Together with Joel and Ryan, we will present 15 songs. You will find the list on our Spotify profile and homepage rockdudes.se. What do you say? Let's get the interview started with Joel and Ryan. We start off with a pretty easy question. You talk a lot about rock and roll and the meaning of that. So when I just ask rock and roll, what's the first thing that comes to your head?
Good times.
Good times.
Good times, lots of fun. Yeah.
And have it been that way ever since you started?
Yeah, I mean, rock and roll it's a universal language. It brings multiple different cultures and speaking languages and different countries together in one. Like, you play a festival like Sweden Rock, and you'll have Germans, French, Italians, Spanish, Australians, Americans, British. They'll all be there at some point, all rocking. So rock and roll is a universal language.
Mm.
How do you say rock and roll in German then?
Rock and roll!
Or in Sweden for that matter. It's universal, as you said.
Yeah.
That's cool.
If we just speak a little bit, how do you grew up and when music hit your...
Oh, okay. Well, the first time, was you were 8, weren't you? 8 years of age?
Yeah, about 6 or 7.
All right.
8.
6 or 8.
One of the main first things was seeing Thunderstruck, the film, the music video in Australia, and then before that there was a band called the Atlantic Rhythm Section, and they had a song called Boogie, and I found it on a cassette tape, and it was at home, and that sort of kicked off everything. If you hear that song, you'll see why. Yeah, it started very early for us, and as soon as hearing the guitar on that Boogie song, it was like, all right, okay, I know what I want to do. And then seeing, of course, Thunderstruck, the video, it was pretty like bang on, like we know what we're doing.
Yeah, I remember. I was 4 years younger, so I was a very little kid, but I still remember that being on the screen in the lounge room.
Yep.
And then from then on.
So if we're going back regarding AC/DC, if you didn't see this, what would have happened, you think? Would you even have a band, or would it be different in your life?
Probably just working.
Yes, because of that Boogie song. It's called Boogie. Still would have gone looking for it.
Yeah.
Still would have been like, I want to find that rock and roll sound. So we would have had a band. It just would have been, I don't know, whatever. I mean, then we got into Rose Tattoo and the Angels and more Australian rock and roll bands pretty quickly. Like it was just like, that's what we want to listen to. And then, of course, our uncle had a lot of records, vinyl records, a lot of Black Sabbath, AC/DC records, Rose Tattoo, Rolling Stones, ZZ Top, Led Zeppelin. Our uncle Athel, it was his name, and it is his name. So we had that influence as well.
what did you play the guitar, Joel, today and sing, and Ryan plays drums? Was that the first instrument you started with?
Well, my first instrument was pots and pans in the lounge room, pretending to play drums, and then I had drum lessons for 4 weeks, and then I just wanted to play guitar, and so I did. And then Ryan, how did you even start playing drums?
You asked Mum and Dad to buy a drum kit. I didn't think I had a choice. I just sort of rocked up one day. I was like, Joel's like, oh yeah, you just need to go on there, just go doom da doom da. I was like, all right, doom da doom da. And then 16 years later, I'm still doing the same thing.
Self-taught.
Yeah, awesome.
Do you remember the first show?
Yeah, I was 13 years of age. So I'm 30 now, so that's like 17 years ago actually. It was just a little battle of the bands. We of course came last, but yeah, it was good.
Oh, the competition, you mean?
Yeah, it was like a little bit, but in that time it was late 90s.
So all the bands sounded like Blink-182 and like a new metal kind of sound.
It was sort of a different sound, so there wasn't much of that sort of rock and roll sound going on, and people sort of didn't actually take us seriously, but we're still here.
Yeah.
What was the first prize for winning the competition?
I think they probably got some studio time. There was a little local studio.
Yeah.
Ran by a guy called Tony
Peel.
Tony Peel in Warrnambool. He had a studio. It was cool.
Yeah.
Was it different being on stage the first time performing? Obviously it was.
Well, it was really weird because didn't you go out in the crowd on that one?
I went out on the crowd like we do today. I did a guitar solo on top of a table. The table broke.
Yeah, that's right.
I fell on my back, kept playing, and then got back to the stage, and then we finished our set. We had 3 songs. So it was like a mini Airbourne show today. Pretty much nothing has changed. It's the same thing. It's like, yeah. So then after the show, the head of the event said, who the fuck are you people? You just come out and you endangered the lives of the kids. And we went, what are you talking about? And he goes, we said, fuck you, man. We put on a show. None of the other fucking bands did. They just come and stood and looked at their shoes. We actually came out and played, and don't give us a hard time. And he said, you're too loud. And, I said, it's fucking rock and roll,
And broke a table as well.
Yeah, broke a table. and we said, and he's like, you're gonna have to pay for that table. We said, no, we're not paying for your fucking table. and we just basically it was like that. So, but that day, that one show gave us that drive that we knew we had to fight for this.
It was where
we had to fight for rock and roll. We had to fight to do it because we knew we were going to cop things like this coming down the track. So it gave us a good sort of kick up the bum to go, hey, you've really got to fight for this. So we got angry. It was good because we were fighting for something, and we felt like as a band we were tighter because we were all together fighting for the same thing.
Yeah.
So it was good having that. It was to be the rebel and have the law trying to stop us at an early age.
Well, was it hard starting out in Australia? I mean, seeing the rock and roll and everything was comparing to the band you were playing with on the competition. I mean, there's a lot of new metal going on as well.
Oh yeah, but that was just what was going on at the time, and so we were always outsiders. We were the only band playing 3 chords. With a sound that you could, like a rock and roll sound, a guitar that actually sounded like a guitar as opposed to just.
So it stood out pretty much, right?
Yeah, I mean, like it's, but we'd always been outsiders. We came from Warrnambool and then moved to Melbourne, and when we moved to Melbourne, we were seen as, we were like, who are these? Moving into this tight Melbourne scene, and it was like. We came from the outside coming in, so it was like, we got laughed at a lot, and we got sort of thinking, oh, these guys are never going to last. Who are they? They're a rock and roll cliche, sort of thing. And cliche for us is another word for fun.
Yeah.
In our eyes, cliches are fun. If you take the cliches out of rock and roll, you end up with indie music. So. If that's your thing, cool. Depressing lifestyle. It's all about having fun. So, but from day one, so we moved to Melbourne and we lived together as a band in a house, all 4 of us, for 3 or 4 years, and we toured Australia and we ate, cooked breakfast together, which was a boiled egg. What do you have for breakfast? Oh, boiled egg. Yeah, go boiled egg. Then have a banana for breakfast and stuff. And we used to cook up big bastards, and we'd all live off that.
For 4 years.
Yeah. And then eventually we moved overseas. So we've always been moving, or we've always been together, you know. So that's always been a good, strong point of the band. Is we've been like a brotherhood.
But are you still think that Australia is like home, or?
Oh yeah, Australia's always home. You know, it's always going to be home. Yeah.
But we like the gypsy life a lot. We love it. We're very comfortable with it.
What I heard, it's kind of an accident that kicked you out from the house in the Melbourne.
Oh, the fire?
Oh, yeah, we almost burnt it down.
Well, look, we had to leave anyway because
it was a party we were having because we signed with a label. And we came back and we finished the record and we were finally going to move overseas. So it was kind of a going away party, but we ended up burning everything we had, like car tyres and the couch. And the fire got so big, part of these, what are the plastic asbestos?
we were throwing petrol on it.
Yeah, and it started, the roof actually caught. And a guy was filming it, he said it's amazing how much it takes before the fire brigade is actually called, but I guess no one saw it.
Because there was black smoke all over the suburb, you know, from the fire at the house, and
it got really crazy.
And we were all drunk as hell, like we were pissed.
We had the old tour van in the backyard. This is earlier on in the day, and so it didn't work anymore. The tyres were flat, but it was the old van we used to use to take up to Sydney and Brisbane, but we used it as a little VIP box for blowing up.
Gas canisters.
Gas canisters.
So you throw them in the fire.
And then you jump in the van with the window and we'd all be in there like 10 of us going, and it just goes
boom. And we had a PA in the backyard. We had just, tunes were rocking loud as fuck. Like to get away with that now, you couldn't. You'd have the cops there in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know,
what we were doing in that backyard was like,
it was like the Rodney King riots in our backyard.
Did you see it in a local paper the day after? People were
no one even. The funny thing was, no one even noticed.
We
no
had
one
quite
cared.
a high fence, but it could have got really bad.
The neighbours were used to us being a bit, mental and a bit crazy in there. So I guess they probably, it was a Saturday. They probably went, look, let's just move away for the day. We'll go on holiday. They clearly lost the plot next door. We'll see how long they last.
Yeah.
So I mean,
yeah.
You talked about you moved to overseas, but which country did you?
Oh, we first moved to Boonton, New Jersey, in the US. And we had the house for like I think 6 to 8 months, and
6 months. We spent 6 days.
We spent 6 days in that place because we toured Europe
and US.
So we were on the road a lot. So we just ended the lease on that, and then
we never actually got to pick up our stuff because we were touring that much. We actually just sent somebody around there. They picked a bunch of stuff up, and it just all went missing. But we were like, on to the next place,
on to the next thing. Keep rolling.
Yeah.
Well, it did end up in New Jersey, though.
I guess with the label, we're based in New York, and we originally we started off touring like 3.5 months in the States, but we did a small UK run, one German show, and they went so well that we were hearing so much when we were on the road in the States that the demand in Europe was getting so strong that we felt, so we came straight back over here. When we were over here, opportunity after opportunity kept happening. That's why we just sent somebody to the house to go, look, just clear it out, give it back to the tenant, to the owners, because we're probably not coming back.
Yep.
And ever since we've just been moving. And then at the end of the tour cycle, like touring, we kind of just go home to Melbourne, and then Joel and I just start working on songs. So we've never necessarily had to base ourselves over here because we're just working the whole time.
Yeah.
So what's the base nowadays? Where you're located?
It's kind of Melbourne, but it could be anywhere. We've always talked about spending some time here, and ideally we'd like to spend summers here, summers home.
Yeah.
Where's that, Sweden, you mean?
Anyway, yeah.
Summertime during Sweden? It's like 2 months, whatever. The rest is dark, so yeah. You got it made. Yeah, but obviously something is picking up over here because you have a lot of shows. You're always there every year, it seems like. Yeah. And it gets bigger and bigger. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could tell the local venues, but also you'll be playing at Sweden Rock, which is the biggest festival. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, we love that festival.
Yeah.
When we first came here to Sweden, that was the first show we played, was Sweden Rock. And we were on the second stage, and when we started playing, there was no one, really at the stage. There was like a small crowd of people. But that's what we thought, our first gig in Sweden, it's going to be small. And we started playing, and then it was literally people running I just remember we started playing.
That's right.
They were running over the hills and just we thought, oh, what's going on? Is there like a fire over there? And they're going to come and run over the stage? Or what's going on? They just they were running to rock with us, and they got there and they just filled up. And by the third song, we had the whole field, and we were so many Swedish flags waving, and then there was like Irish flags, French flags, British flags, like German flags, everyone, Polish flags. They were all there waving their flags, and we were like, how good is this? This is, like. And we got off stage, and it was such a big roar from the crowd, and we were so overwhelmed. We were like, wow, we got to come back to Sweden. These guys rock.
What do you think about the Swedish scene though, on rock and roll music? Is there any band you follow or you're friends with?
Bonafide.
Bonafide, yeah. You like him?
I love him.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. Yeah, Pontus, I know he's a mate. So
actually, Pontus' girlfriend is the guitar player from Thundermother.
Yeah.
They're also big fans of you guys.
Yeah,
it's like a small clique. Everything's kind of connected in some way.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah, the Swedish know how to rock.
Yeah.
If we just went further on with the first album, Running Wild, and when I heard that album the first time, it's like you say, it's like you will make the rock and roll and the party for all people.
Yeah.
And it seems like you kept on with the other two albums as well. Have you had any kind of idea to develop the sound or the idea, or is it just ongoing party?
Ongoing party. I mean, this record, this latest one, was a similar vibe to Running Wild, because Running Wild was our first record that we also did with Bob Marlette. We did this last one with Bob Marlette, and when we made that record, the perception was we're going to have to go out and tour this because it's the only record we've got. So we actually had to play every song off it. Well, when we got Bob in to do this one, we actually said to ourselves, what if we could pretend the last three records don't exist?
Yeah.
And let's go back to like we did in Running Wild and make a record that if they didn't exist, if we had to go out and play the whole thing. Yeah. And so that's how we actually approached this record, as if we had never done anything else. And it's the same theme. It's the exact same thing. If you've had a long, hard week, or you've had a shit relationship, or you just whatever the hell you're going through, the idea is to put an Airbourne record on, crack a can, invite some mates over, and just have a good time.
So, where did you record it?
Where?
Yeah.
In Australia. It was our first album recorded in Australia, other than an EP, I guess, that we did back in 2003 called Ready to Rock, which we did at Hot House in St Kilda in Melbourne. And this was our first other, I guess, recording in Melbourne, Australia, because the last three records were all done in the US. So on this record, we went to Sing Sing Studios in Melbourne,
which will be knocked down by the end.
Which is going to be knocked down soon. So it's the most legendary studio in Australia, still standing from a long time. Of its size, it's a big room.
Yeah.
And
we recorded and mixed the album there.
Yeah.
Why is it getting knocked down? You mean?
Apartments.
Apartment block.
Same story with everything else.
Did this have an effect while because you wanted to record there, because it was last time?
We heard about it when we were there.
We were there, and then we were like, oh shit, well it's good that we are here, because this is we'd always wanted to record there.
Yeah.
We just never had the chance.
And
that was a sneeze.
We took and we brought out Bob, who we did Run 'Em All with, and also Mike Fraser, who's a world-renowned engineer. He's done the last 4 AC/DC records. He's done a bunch. Aerosmith and Metallica and stuff like that.
Bryan Adams,
yeah.
Oh wow. Well, the new album sounds more angrier. Have you heard that?
Yeah, more rough.
Yeah, it's more. It's got a little bit of heavier side to it, but that's like that's kind of what we wanted to go for. It's still got things like "Do Me Like You Do Yourself," and so it's a little like the best way that we describe it's like the other albums, like it's sort of like it's Jack and Coke. It's like a double Jack and Coke, so it's a little bit more beefier. It's a little bit stronger.
It's good. People are saying that though, that the new album is a bit more angrier.
It's good.
It's good.
It's more dynamic as well, I think.
That's
because
good,
you have the harder song, the heavier, and then the more like ZZ Top, Boogie Woogie, rock and roll.
A bit more blues in there.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if that was our only record and we had to go out and just play those 11 songs,
we wanted
you want that set to be as dynamic.
And that's Running Wild was like that. Okay, so with Airbourne, with us, with any band, and this works with every band in the world, your first album, you imagine you've got a toolbox, and you got, only in that toolbox is a hammer and a nail. It's very simple, and you just put your hammer and your nail in, and then you put that album out. It's a simple, but it's the core sound of your band. And then the second album, sometimes it goes down, or often because you have to do it really quickly. But then you add a few more tools in your box. You learn some from mistakes. So you might add a screwdriver and a hammer. Screwdriver and a spanner. By the third album, you might learn more stuff.
You still got the hammer and nail.
But you still got that hammer and nail, the core. You might get a power drill and an angle grinder. So by the fourth album, we've got our toolbox full of all these new tools that we didn't have on the first album. But we still got our hammer and nail, and we still stick to using that because you can't beat it while adding some other tools in, but it's still in our Airbourne toolbox. We never go outside and change the flavour.
We don't go getting nail guns and having double kick pedals.
I'm still missing the Bryan Adams ballad though. You thinking about that?
Yeah.
In the future?
Look, I mean
have you ever heard that?
If you know the song "Bat Out of Hell"?
Sure.
What would you say that is?
It's a mixture of everything, kinda, yeah.
Is it a ballad?
Sure.
Is it a ballad?
It could be, yeah.
Is it epic? What is it?
Dude, that's a hard question for sure.
See, okay,
Yeah.
so if we were to do something,
It'd be similar to that.
Might be like that.
Not that we're planning on it.
You're not?
No.
You think about it though?
Well, basically, every record, you don't know what it's going to be like.
True.
You just have a kind of idea and an approach. Yeah.
You never know, when you make a record. You have a vision of what you want the vibe to be. So, and this one was to be Breakin Outta Hell, like to escape, to help people escape, and also pick people up. Like this song's like get back up. It's to get people back up, and of course, we wanted to have a bit of fun, like you said, with the boogie woogie thing, like Down on You, and it's a bit of tongue in cheek. So we wanted to make that album that you put it on and it can break you out of a hell with rock and roll. The saying is world off, music on, or world off, rock and roll on, whatever. But when the rock and roll's on, you forget the troubles. So that was our vision for this one, was to be the great escape.
Yeah.
Just talk a little about the process writing the album. Do you come to the studio or the place you're writing it with a blank page? Or
we had a bunch of songs.
That'd be scary.
Yeah, no. We've usually got a good we've got a good sort of core of songs ready to go. But usually it's great when you make a couple of songs in the studio that kind of beat a couple of the demos, and then sometimes a lot of songs get rewritten in a hotel room, and then maybe the next day when Joel's coming in to sing, we'll literally change lines right there at the mic.
Right at the mic, and sing a new line in, because we just go, that line's, it's just not working,
Yeah.
So you go, it doesn't really, it's a shit line. So we go, well, we got to make it not shit. It's got to be cool. It's got to connect. It's got to get that thing where you get those little goosebumps, and you go, oh yeah, now that's rocking. That connects with everybody. So I think we sweated a lot more, I think, than we have in the past. Each record we seem to sweat more on the lyrics, and this one was pretty intense because we were singing about real life events and every song was like that. We've done that in the past, but I think in this circumstance we actually dug a bit deeper.
It's All for Rock and Roll there was a song written about Lemmy, and that was the last one that was written, and it was we were coming down to the wire. It was the last one that was sung, wasn't it?
It was the last song that was sung.
And then we were in the hotel room, and we're just like, because we had a kind of vibe. That song had a bit of a vibe about rock and roll, but it just wasn't hitting the. You can always just say, because you can never just rest. There's a little gauge at the back of your mind that will always just go, yeah, but is it good enough? And if that's ever saying that, you have to just go, shit, if we have to go to hell and back to get this right, we will. And we were just talking about it in the hotel, and then we was like, well, we've got to write a song about Lemmy. you know, and we just
because we
that.
felt a lot. He hit us pretty hard when he passed away, because he done so much for us. He was in our first Running Wild video. He drove the truck, and then he had us on countless Motorhead tours.
Always stopped in our band room to say hi.
He would always say good day, and their crew was always so nice to us. We'd always catch up with them at festivals and have a beer, have a laugh. And when sort of the realism comes that that's not going to be the case anymore, that we're going to be touring now and on festivals, and there's going to be no Motorhead.
Yeah,
that's really like it. That hit us pretty hard, and we wanted to do a song straight away. We wanted to go out and do a gig and just play a Motorhead set, but we couldn't. We were in the studio, so we had to but then we had this riff, and we're like, it's this great riff, and we're like, we just couldn't get any lyrics to work with it, and then it just worked. All for one for all. Rock and roll went, that's about Lemmy. And then it's what he personified. He lived his whole life for rock and roll. He really did, all the way to the end. And then it's for the crews that work in rock and roll, and for the fans that come to rock and roll shows, because when we're all there together in that big field playing, it's we're all there, and in tragic circumstances we lose people in rock and roll. Fans might have a car crash, a car accident. So it's on the way home. So, and with Lemmy, he's like a lightning rod, and all that lightning for us, it just went through him. And so we were like, this is a song for Lemmy. That's how we finished the record.
Do you remember the last time you met him? The feeling and everything?
Yeah. Yep. It was at it was at one of those, I think it was the Metal Hammer Awards, the last time I saw him. And he had two women under each arm, a woman under each arm, and he was smiling and having a great time. And then, that was the last time I seen him.
What about you, though? You were holding 2 beers instead?
What was that?
You were holding 2 beers instead? Or?
Yeah, I had 2 beers instead. He had 2 women, I had 2 beers.
It's all good. Let's switch. Let's trade.
But the last time I seen him, he was just laughing and having a great time, and 100% pure rock and roll.
Were you surprised when you heard the passing and everything?
Yeah, because he just toured for so long. He just kept going and going. The guy's made of steel, Yeah.
Did you ever talk about touring though, together with Motorhead?
We've done.
We've done
2 or 3 times with them.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
They're probably the band we've supported the most.
Yeah.
So the first time, basically, was a call. Look, you should support us. Right?
Yeah, it was with Rose Tattoo in Australia.
Yeah.
Rose Tattoo and Motorhead.
How was that though? Just getting that call.
It was great. And then, we were like so excited and honoured and everything, and we did the tour, and Phil Campbell's a big Rose Tattoo fan, and quite often, because we play our set and then Rose Tattoo and then Motorhead. So I'd go, after I got off stage, I'd run straight out while they changed the gear over, and I'd be ready to watch Rose Tattoo. And often, every time, Phil Campbell would be coming out, but he'd sneak out with a beanie on so no one could see him. And eventually, he'd see me out there all the time, and he'd just come stand next to me, and we'd stand together, just watching Rose Tattoo, and we'd talk about how much we love Angry Anderson. And like, he was out there watching Rose Tattoo shows every time. And I know Angry and Lemmy go way back. They've known, those guys have known each other for a while. Mm-hmm. So it was a very rock and roll tour, that one, and we learnt so much from both those bands and on that tour, and it was really good, to stand out the front with Phil Campbell watching Rose Tattoo before Motorhead goes on, and then you're up the front watching Motorhead. It was great.
Is it the same feeling seeing AC/DC?
It's the same feeling seeing any band that we love.
How tired are you being compared to AC/DC nowadays?
They just keep it coming,
It's
just like they're the most famous Australian pub rock and roll band, and it's the kind of music we play. So it's
and all the drama that comes with it as well.
And all the what?
All the drama that comes with it as well.
Yeah, it's not really drama. It's all it's all good. You know what I mean? Like, we're doing the right thing. We're playing Aussie pub rock and roll, and if they said we sounded like someone else, like that wasn't a rock and roll band, then we'd clearly be doing the sound injustice.
Yeah.
Were you surprised when Axel was joining a couple of gigs?
I mean, who do you get? The tour's called Rock or Bust. That you've had to change. You've lost the leader of the band, Malcolm Young. the drummer that recorded the album, who'd also been there, Phil Rudd, been there for most of AC/DC's career, unfortunately can't leave New Zealand, so you get Chris Slade back. So you've had 2 lineup changes and you go out on tour. It's called Rock or Bust, and then so you can't go bust. And then Brian unfortunately has his hearing issue. So then they got to get someone, because it's either they go bust. You know what I mean? Like it's rock or bust. So they got to get someone. I didn't go. I couldn't go to any of the shows because we were making the album. Well, I heard Axel did a good job, and it seemed like they had to do what they had to do.
Well, they should have gone for Joel instead.
Hey, if I got the call, I'd be there.
We're thinking about, man, this would be a strange fucking feeling if someone would call from the management, look, will you fill in spots a couple of shows? But I mean, if you think about it,
I'd have a heart attack.
If you think about it, it's not that really far-fetched, right? In some way, because obviously the band knows you and vice versa.
Yeah.
It's just Axel had time because you guys were in the studio.
With this new album, you signed with a new record company, Spying Farm. How did that come about?
Well, sort of, we were with Roadrunner for a bit, and they joined with Warner, and it's sort of a lot of friends we work with closely on the record, sort of parted ways with Roadrunner. And sort of, we with this record, we wanted a hands-on feel, and the option was up anyway. So we just sort of felt, look, well, we were talking to Dante at Spine Farm and about, really a Roadrunner mentality, that they had a very hands-on rock and roll vibe. And so we just went with Spine Farm. But, the amount of labels we've been with now is ridiculous. I mean, we started with Capital, and then
Virgin.
We were Virgin for 2 seconds, and then Roadrunner, and then we were Warner for 2 seconds.
Warner Atlantic, and then.
So it's one of those things. It's just the industry now. You sort of move around a bit, but the industry's very small. We're still friends with everybody we work with throughout the labels, because there's you can count the amount of people on a couple of hands. So it's But Spine Farm seems like it's a really nice, healthy place to be for this record, and hopefully we can get 2 out of them. Yeah, 3.
Basically, all those labels are like major labels. Have you thought about that? It's not really indie labels anymore. Spine Farm is Universal, and obviously you guys on Capitol before. So, have you thought about being like a smaller, seeing the difference perhaps? Like, I don't know if the labels control that much regarding Airbourne, sound-wise or hands-on and everything. It's pretty much do whatever you do.
Creatively, no. I mean, obviously we control it, but. I mean, it's good to be with a major label and some to get the push, the reach that you need to get the rock and roll out there, because that's why we're here. We just want to get the rock and roll to as many people as we can.
Yeah, or maybe bigger tours. Who knows? In the future as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
After this festival summer, we'll hit off the tour with the Volbeat in Europe and US.
Yep.
Is that the first time you're supporting them?
No, we've supported Volbeat before
in the US.
In the US, and we've played with them a few times before.
Yeah,
and on European festivals over here too.
We've done some spot shows with them as well, and we're good friends with the guys, and they're great guys, and so we're looking forward to it actually. It's good to tour with bands and that are good people. It's great to sit around and catering, have a few beers and have a yarn. So.
Yeah. But you are also going for your own headline tour in UK and US as well.
That's true. At the end of the year, and then we'll do.
US is in September and August,
and then we'll be back in 2017 again for more headline stuff.
What about Australia though?
Oh yeah,
January.
We're going back to do that.
How's the touring in Australia? Is it 3 cities or?
It's not many. I think we're only doing
small.
We're doing Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, and Summer Nats Festival in Canberra. But I mean, a lot of these dates are still a warm up. The record's not even out yet, so we've sort of been doing just a lot of warming up to next year, which will be the big Breakin Outta Hell tour. So a year and a half of touring.
Yeah.
Crazy. You're basically living on the road.
Love it. You're either a gypsy or you're not.
We've been doing it since we were quite young.
Yeah.
When we moved from Warrnambool, so.
I mean, when I'm home, it feels weird just being stopped in one area for so long. You sort of just get used to environments changing every day. It's refreshing.
So what's a typical day on a tour bus? I mean, watching a movie or just resting or you got routines?
A couple of beers.
Beers?
Well, we got a keg machine on there.
You got a keg machine as well?
Yeah, it's a Philips keg machine they make in sort of Austria, Germany areas. So you get 6 litre kegs. We get 6 of them, so that's a 6-pack. 36 litres of beer if we play any of the German, Austria, Holland shows. And then, if we go through France, we get about 14 bottles of red. So there's plenty to, just sit there and have a couple of beers with the crew. And
have you noticed the bus gets bigger and bigger? Or smaller?
it's a large bus. It's a double decker with 2 lounges front and back, and then you can sit 12 people comfortably downstairs.
Yeah.
There's about 12 people on it, so there's quite a lot of room actually on the thing. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. But you're going to the next level. Each member is going to have each bus, right?
No,
this will be in the future.
I doubt we'd get, even do that even if we got to that level.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
Now it's time for Rock Dude's music top list. Together with the guest, we will present 15 songs. And if you are listening to the podcast on Spotify, you can get the playlist on our profile rockdudes.se, and there you can get both the good stories together with the songs itself. So which one will start?
I'll start. AC/DC Big Gun. I fucking love that song. I mean, it gets me going. It's a great song. I remember seeing it as a kid. The video with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it's just a really rocking song from them. And it's not on an album. And it was on The Last Action Hero. Not the greatest film, but great soundtrack.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's Big Gun for me.
And you, Ryan?
Ram It Down by Judas Priest. Real reason for that is it's what I believe is the greatest solo in the world.
Okay. And you again, Joe?
Yeah, More Wine, Waiter Please, The Poor. That's an Australian band, and I remember seeing that when I was a kid. The Poor opened for AC/DC in 1996 at Rod Laver Arena on the Ball Breaker tour, which was my first time seeing AC/DC, and I got to see The Poor and AC/DC in one whack. It was great.
And you again, Ryan?
Fear of the Dark, Iron Maiden. It just reminds me of when I was really young. I was a real sort of Maiden kid, and I remember watching Maiden live at Monsters of Rock, Donington, the VHS video, and I always remember that come on, Bruce Dickinson in his bizarre 3/4 leather shorts. But the song, I don't know, it's just one of those songs that I really like.
Yeah. And the last?
Yeah, for me, the last one is Rose Tattoo, Scarred for Life. It's a great Rose Tattoo song, and once again, remember seeing the thing when I was a kid and hearing it, and it just Angry's voice, and the song just really gets me going.
Great.
All right, we're here for Jonas' top 5 songs, and the first one is the Swedish biggest band.
The biggest band that called In Flames. They will be releasing a new album actually in a couple of months, and it will be called Battles. The last album, Siren Charms, did get some good reviews, especially from the medias, but the fans, they was pretty upset with the sound. So it seems like they are going back to the In Flames sound that more or less everyone likes a lot. So I have chosen the song The End, and it's one of the 2 tracks that have been released so far. And it's a really classic In Flames song, so listen and enjoy.
Second song is another Swedish band with a girl female front singer.
Yeah, it's the psychedelic blues band's Blues Pills, and they did release a new album, Lady in Gold, earlier in the end of the summer. Their debut album was really amazingly good and have been received really well all over Europe. And now it's time to release their second album, and it's called, as I said, Lady in Gold. And I have chosen the track Bad Talkers. It has a lot of groove, and the song is built with a good dynamics and arrangements.
For the third song, we're going to America.
Yeah, and we're talking about another band with a female singer. It's the Pretty Reckless. That will be releasing the new album Who You Selling For, the 21st of October. And I have chosen the first single, Take Me Down,
It's a classic rock song that should be on every party music list.
And finally, some punk.
Yeah, it's the American band Green Day. That has been around for 30 years. They started the band in 1986. They did the breakthrough, had to wait until the 1994 with the album Dookie. And one of the most played songs on that album was The Basket Case, of course. That was played a lot on MTV and on the radio. One of the great things with the band is really their live performance. It's absolutely smashing. Now it's time for the new album and a new Great World Tour. Revolution Radio will be released the 7th of October, and I have chosen the first single, Bang Bang. And it's a fast riffing punk rock song with the same attitude and energy as in the beginning of the 90s. I'm really looking forward to seeing them again in Stockholm, 27th of January next year.
And for the last song, of course, you're going to take one song from Joel and Ryan from Airbourne. Makes sense.
Yeah, I really have to do that because I really love this band, and the interview was a really cool thing to do. They were really awesome. They have a lot of anecdotes to tell. And I have chosen the title track, Breakin Outta Hell. So bring the beers, your friends, and listen to the song and just party on. Now it's time for Ömer's Top 5. And I looked through your list, and it seems that you have chosen title tracks of all the band's new albums.
Correct. I don't know why, but it just happened, and I didn't plan on it, but these are good songs, and all of them are title tracks.
So what's your first song?
The first one is a Swedish band. Everybody knows who opened this, and this is a single, Sorceress. It's a bit different. I mean, every new album they put out is different. They're like going towards the more 70s kind of sound to it, with progression, rock, and also metal, but this is a mixture of everything. So listen to Sorceress.
Okay, that's what's Opeth. So it's the second song in your list?
The second song, we're going to Canada. Devin Townsend's project. Mr. Devin has several bands, obviously, but I picked the song Failure with his side project, Devin Townsend project, and it's progressive metal.
Okay. That was Devin Townsend project. The third song, what?
We're back in Sweden with Solution 45, with the song The Faint Pulse of Light. The singer from Scarcimity has his own new band. Well, it's not new anymore, but they put out a couple of albums, but it's a good song. It's not the typical Scarcimity, but it's more of the melodic death metal.
Okay, now it's 2 songs left, so what will the 4th song be?
We're going to the US. Dillinger Escape Plan with the song Limerent Deaths, and this is their last album. They're celebrating 20 years. It's a mixture of metalcore, elements of jazz and fusion all in one, and it's a really energetic band. So you have to see them live, and it's a shame that they're saying quits, but 20 years is a long time, dude. So yeah, good effort, and every album is great, but this particular song from the album is a killer and standout track, so listen to it.
The last song, what is it? I think we go back to Sweden again.
Yep, it's we're actually going back to Sweden, like you mentioned, with the song Distance from a band called Evergrey, and it's progressive metal with these masterminds from Sweden. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap, yeah.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much to joining us here in our podcast.
No worries. Thanks for having us. Honoured to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, folks, that was the end of the 29th episode of Rock Dudes, the first one in the season 5. And thank you so much, Joel and Ryan from Airbourne. It was such a fun time to talk to you. And we also want to thank our sponsors, 70,000 Tons of Metal. We are really looking forward to join the Metal Fest on the Ocean between the 2nd and the 6th of February next year, 2017. Please visit our social media channels like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Search for Rock Dudes Podden. Please make some comments of what you think of this episode, or tell us which guests you want to be in our future episode of Rock Dudes. The jingle was recorded by Jonas Hermansson, Peter Månsson, and Mia Coulthart. The producer and the recorder of this episode was Jonas Love, and edited by Indigo. The next episode, Rock Dudes 30, will be released in 2 weeks. I think it will be the 30th of September. And the guest that time will be Chris Adam from Smash Into Pieces. Until then, rock on!